so many questions for you, and we kind of wanted to talk about the state of the sports betting and gambling industry. And I know there's obviously major differences from what we here are able to do north of the border in Canada, as opposed to what our friends south of the border in the United States are. But let me just start off with this: how big is the sports betting industry right now, and how much is it growing year by year?
Well, obviously, given that there's so much of it that's illegal or kind of unregulated with a number of offshore sports books, it's hard to get an accurate reflection of what's the size of the sports betting business. I've heard estimates of a $1 trillion industry. And considering how much they bet in Asia and Eastern Europe and some of these developing betting markets, I believe it.
Now, focusing on our folks in the U.S., and I listen to a ton of podcasts and betting podcasts and just general sports chat with people on social media, and I've always been a little surprised at how easily it seems some friends and acquaintances are able to bet online in the U.S. Is all of that illegal, or what's available to U.S. sports bettors if you live outside the state of Nevada right now?
It's actually a pretty good time for it. There's more books. Obviously, it's not as good as it was before the UIGEA passed, which is the Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act. But it's pretty good time for U.S. bettors. There's several books that come into the market every year, and since the UIGEA, there's been basically it's weeded out all the marginal books, and the sports books that are still standing, they're solid books that pay promptly, treat customers fairly, and that I'm very very happy to patronize. And
are they legal?
They're not illegal. It's a kind of a it's not illegal for an American citizen to bet on sports offshore. It's not illegal for them to send money. The UIGEA basically deputized banks to they had to flag gambling transactions. So basically, and that's why the banks opposed it, because they, there may have been some sort of profit motive, but they didn't want to, become a adjunct to the Justice Department. So, but really, one big development's been the growth of Bitcoin, which pretty much takes the money transfer issue off the table.
You know what, I know a number of people, we've heard about Bitcoin, a number of listeners are going, well, what exactly does that mean? If you could, for our listeners, explain why that internet currency, Bitcoin, has helped the business, and what exactly that is and how you use it.
Well, I could devote an hour to that, but let me give you kind of the analogy I usually give people. I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with BitTorrent for downloading movies and downloading files. Bitcoin, in its essence, is the same thing but with money, and it's decentralized. No one controls it. No one runs it. There's nothing to shut down. It's a fascinating industry, and I'm kind of that's actually what I was doing before I came to work for Sports Betting Experts. I was basically doing a lot of tech media and a lot of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency writing. So it's a fascinating area, and basically you can send money anywhere in the world, and there's not a lot that any government or any third party can do to stop it.
Jim, looking at the site, it's interesting. Maybe if you could tell us a little bit about sportsbettingexperts.com and what services your site provides to folks that want to throw a little sprinkle down on some games.
Yeah, it's I'm really proud of the site and the way it looks, and I kind of have free reign over the content, and we're actually getting together in a week or so to have a big powwow to see what else we can add to it. All the sports books we have on the site, I review personally, and basically my enthusiasm for the site kind of got me back into the gambling business. I'd been in it for 25 years, doing everything. I've done a radio show. I've made odds. I've been a bettor. I've been a handicapper. You name it. And I was kind of burnt out. I'm just not very happy with the state of the industry in the U.S. And I just gotten married, and I thought, maybe it's a good chance to do something else. And like I said, I was writing about technology for a while, and then sports betting experts came along, and kind of made me the proverbial offer I couldn't refuse. And most importantly, they gave me veto power. They're not going to put a sports book that is a bad book up on the site just because they pay well. And if I know a site that I don't like or there's a bad word of mouth on, they're off. And and they've given me a free rein to that, and I really appreciate that.
You've got to be one of the few guys that gets married and then jumps back into the world of sports betting. Usually it's the other way around.
Yeah, usually it is. Usually it's either you marry a stripper or a showgirl. That doesn't go well, or you kind of calm down. But I'm really proud of the site, and I'm really we're trying to add more content, add more features. But we right now we have probably the widest range of odds on non-sports betting topics anywhere in the world. We cover politics, we cover finance, we cover the weather, we cover reality TV, and I make all the odds. And they're odds you can hang on the wall and bet on.
Well, speaking of politics, two questions have to do with President Trump. One, is his election a good sign for sports bettors? Will deregulation, is it more likely under a Trump presidency? And the second part of that is, what's the line on Trump actually finishing his term as president?
Well, I'll pull that up while I answer the first part of the question. I think Trump's a neutral for the industry. I really don't think there's a lot of interest in doing anything with the sports betting industry. I think it's going to be a case where it's going to be kind of slowly. It's going to become slowly acceptable for Americans to play offshore. It may get regulated at the state level because they're desperate for revenue, and a lot of the states, obviously New Jersey's been the big one trying to get sports betting legalized, but I don't see anything major happening. That's what really frustrated me. It's a case where you're just going to kind of go on like it is. I don't think Trump's any particular savior for the industry. I don't think he's particularly bad. Like I say, he's a neutral. And his odds of finishing his term, I'll pull up.
Yeah, I mean, that was, and just while you get that up, I will impart a little story to some of our listeners. I recall doing the program and getting home, ripping across the street to the store and coming back to watch the hockey game and keep an eye on what was going on with Trump. And they had been counting the votes for an hour. And you could still online, or at least one of the sites that I could get Trump at 7-1 to win the election. This is an hour into the counting of ballots on the East Coast. It just sort of puts into perspective what an incredible upset that was, at least in the minds of the public and certainly the books as well.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a big upset. A lot of it, I think, was obviously the bad polling, which has been widely discussed in the quote-unquote legitimate media. It's been the media coverage, because everyone in the U.S. media basically said it was a done deal that Hillary Clinton was going to be president. And the problem was she campaigned as someone who thought it was a done deal that she was going to be president. What's interesting is we first saw the discrepancy in the polling in September. And I started writing about it at Sports Betting Experts because it was a pretty simple process. The polling data didn't correlate with the money lines in the individual states. But yeah, it was a massive upset, and the books were all in the media the day after the election, poor mouthing about how hard this was on them, and I just don't see mathematically how it could be hard on them for people to be throwing money at a 7-1 favorite or a 1-7 favorite and have the other guy win. So never believe a sports book that poor mouths in the media.
Now, I'm looking at some of the presidential odds here, and I mean, you guys have odds on particular dates too. I mean, they're will Trump be president on the 30th of September is minus 650. So I mean, obviously, if he wasn't there, you're getting 4-1. But if you go down to serve his first full term as president of the United States. It's 2-1, plus 170 on no and a minus 200. I imagine with things, as crazy as they are right now politically, those numbers are probably changing quite often depending on what happens. How soon do you have to be on the trigger to change those the next story that comes out on CNN or Fox?
To some extent, it was the first month or so. It was really volatile. It's kind of calmed down now, and I don't know how familiar you are with the U.S. impeachment process, but it's not easy to get a president impeached. There's a lot of people who would like to do that to Trump, but actually getting it done is that's going to be a different matter entirely. So the process alone makes it unlikely that he'll be impeached. And if he's not impeached, he's going to grind out at least his first term, I think.
Oh, you know what? This is great. I've kind of gone down the rabbit hole now beyond the presidential odds, looking at who will be the next person fired. And I love the Spicer props. You know what? I think we may have to do a whole segment on the show tomorrow on these. Jim, listen, thanks so much for doing this. Hopefully we can have you back on again. This is a great conversation, and love the site.
Hey, I appreciate that. And I want your listeners to come check us out at sportsbettingexperts.com. And I'm at your disposal. Anytime you want to have me back on, I am here for you.
Consider it done, Jim. We'll do it again soon. Thanks for doing this.
Okay, I enjoyed it. Have a good day.
Good stuff. Jim Murphy, sportsbettingexperts.com.